The Met Gala has evolved into one of the most highly anticipated events on the fashion calendar, and this year's showing did not disappoint. The theme was The Garden of Time, in celebration of the Metropolitan Museum of Art's 2024 Costume Institute exhibition titled Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion, which features 250 rare items spanning over 400 years of fashion history. Here to discuss all the glamour, innovation, and unforgettable moments from this year's Met Gala's red carpet is seasoned fashion expert Hal Rubenstien. Hal, thank you so much for joining me again.
Oh, sure. I'm delighted to be here.
The first Monday in May is iconic for anyone who likes the cross-section of fashion and celebrities. It was yesterday, and that is the Met Gala. This year's dress code was the Garden of Time. So when you're thinking about all the looks that came off the red carpet last night, what were some of your favorites and who really adhered to that theme?
Well, the thing is, the theme was not that simple. Whereas other years where it was about camp or it was all about Karl Lagerfeld, the theme was actually was sort of two-part. It was Sleeping Beauties, the Garden of Time. Now, Sleeping Beauties refer to the inventory at the Met of pieces that are so fragile they actually can't be worn by people anymore. They're gorgeous pieces of craftsmanship and couture that are just incredibly fragile and about to fall apart. And in connection with that, the Garden of Time refers to a short story by J.G. Ballard that is, and for those who don't know, J.G. Ballard is a writer of sort of dystopian fiction. Not exactly the happiest subject here. The movie Empire of the Sun was based on one of his books. And the Garden of Time is all about this well-to-do couple that live secluded in this villa that is surrounded by these magical flowers that have these sort of impending hordes coming to sort of take over their villa. It's like basically the plebeians are going to overthrow the rich, which makes a very strange juxtaposition for the Met Gala. And what it is that these two people live in the villa, pick these flowers, these magical flowers that are in their garden that can stop time. But as they pick the flowers, there are less and less they don't grow back. Eventually, they run out of flowers. And the plebeian hordes take over their villa and destroy the higher level of society. The problem with that story is that you have to read it to understand what the evening is about. And
yeah, that's a super grim story. But
huh?
And everyone looked beautiful. So was everyone on theme?
Except because I don't think anybody except for Sarah Jessica Parker, who admitted to reading it, was the one who read it. So what everybody took was the title, The Garden of Time. So there was the word garden. So it was floral. They went running, and as Miranda Priestley says in The Devil Wears Prada, florals for spring, groundbreaking. So what you saw was a whole lot of very, very, very pretty, incredibly intricate dresses. Kerry Washington looked lovely in purple velvet with Oscar de la Renta flowers trailing all over her, and Lily James the same thing from Erdem, pink with black flowers all over it. But that wasn't necessarily what the evening was about. That said, people did look lovely, but maybe not game-changing the way some years are. Though I have to say, in defense, I think the Met over the past couple of years had gotten to the point where it was so much can you top this, that it's suddenly became the world's most elaborate clown show because it was so much about costume. And this time there were a lot less costumes and a lot more clothes. There were some people who did get it right, who did do something, I think, novel and creative.
Let's talk about who those people are, because you are right. You saw florals all throughout the red carpet. I also thought about the quote, florals for spring, groundbreaking. But who do you think really made a statement? Who really adhered to that theme?
There were quite a few actually who actually sort of read the memo, or at least had a stylist who read the memo. Because it was also about going back in time. Nicole Kidman went back to talk. She talked about wanting to have worked with Richard Avedon, the great photographer, but he became ill before they could work. So she went back to the 50s when he was at his height, and she found a sculptural black and white gown by Cristobal Balenciaga, and basically had the thing recreated, and it was stunning because it was about going back in time. Elle Fanning, Elle Fanning wore a dress by Balmain that was made out of resin, and it looked. Remember, it's also about fragility. The whole evening about fragility because it's really about flowers dying, not flowers blooming, and but Elle Fanning's dress, it was resin and it looked like it was made out of glass, and it was held up by by two crystalline birds that were perched on each of her shoulders. Uh, Mindy Kaling probably had the most elaborate, incredible dress. It was this towering halo created by this intricate floral cape by an Indian designer named Gure Gupta. And it was probably the most striking, I think, dress that anybody wore for the whole evening. There was the singer Tyla. She also wore Balmain, and her dress was made out of three different kinds of sand. And she even came with an hourglass, the sands of time, which made perfect sense. The dress was so heavy that she actually couldn't walk up the steps. She actually had to be carried up the steps. Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey looked like this princess caught, like Sleeping Beauty caught in a maze of thorns and having like awakened too soon. And that was by Alexander McQueen's newest designer, Sean McGurr. The funny thing is that the two designers who probably nailed it the most, one is gone, who was McQueen, and the other one is John Galliano, who's having an incredible resurgence. Zendaya, who basically is the person I'm most excited to see all the time. Zendaya came startlingly dressed in a gown by Galliano that kind of looked like a decaying peacock, and it sort of was blue and sheer, with this huge feather coming up. She had her makeup also done very much like Galliano had a couture show for Margiela in January that basically will go down in the annals as one of the great fashion shows of all time, and has sort of redeemed Galliano from his sort of place in exile for the things that he said during his addiction. And he is the most extraordinary designer. And then Zendaya actually came and wore two outfits. She came back in this incredible sort of black swan of a gown that was a Givenchy dress that actually when Galliano was doing Givenchy as well, with an enormous hat by Alexander McQueen that basically harbored a whole bunch of roses. And then the other Galliano dress was actually worn by Kim Kardashian. We may hate to love her or love to hate her, but she looked extraordinary. It was this dress. It was so full of glints and brilliance, and looking like it was almost about to fall apart. And that's partially the idea, which should have been the idea of the evening.
I do want to ask you a question and pick your brain about Kim Kardashian's look. Stunning dress, corset, so tight, but she was wearing a cardigan looking
that
shawl.
is the weird thing.
What was that about? Because that's a viral moment on social media.
Well, nobody's really explaining. I mean, her hairdresser was talking about it because she did her hair platinum and deliberately had the roots showing, and it was a three-step process. But she was clutching this little cardigan as if she was cold in the library. I actually think, again, I'm guessing, and no one will verify it. I think there was a wardrobe malfunction over her left breast, and because she kept clutching it. She kept clutching it over and over and over again. And it was weird. It's like, why are you wearing this like sort of librarian's cardigan over this extraordinary dress? But she wouldn't let go of it. And the sweater actually looked really kind of mumsy. That said, that's probably also the best she's ever looked.
She looked stunning.
So I hate saying that, but she really looked magnificent.
I mean, she's always a topic of conversation when it comes to the Met Gala. She was wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress before. You also mentioned Zendaya, who is a favorite on the carpet. She returned after a 5-year hiatus. She wore multiple looks last night, as you said. Do you think that she lived up to the hype that she has set for herself over the years?
Yeah. Well, the thing that Zendaya does that's so intelligent with of course her stylist, who was right behind her, is that when you watch, if you saw the way she worked the red carpet for the opening of Dune, and then again for the opening of the film Challengers, all of her outfits for the opening of Dune related to the story. All of her outfits that she wore for the opening of Challengers related to the story. Like somebody described her on E! And it was very adept, in the sense that when she comes on that red carpet, she's playing a part. She's working a character. She had her makeup done very much like like the makeup that was done by Pat McGrath for the Galliano show, almost as if she wasn't real. And she's not there waving at everybody. She's playing a part. The way she posed, the way she moved and arched her back. Um, this is a, this is not just an actress. This is somebody who has an extraordinary personality and understands how to, quote, play the part.
I do want to talk about some trends and some themes we saw on the carpet this year. Obviously, you and I touched on the floral theme. I saw
Yeah.
a lot of sheer. What other trends did you see on the carpet last night?
There was a lot of share. There was an extraordinary amount of beating. In fact, so much so that because it was not about big costumes, and a lot of these dresses were about intricacy. The fact that Jennifer Lopez's gown took 800 hours to make, the fact that Gigi Hadid's dress took 5,000 hours to put together and contained 2,800,000 crystals. But the problem is they're so intricate and small, it doesn't show up on television. It doesn't show up in a camera. So some of that effect is lost, and was only seen really by those people who were standing there. So I think also what you did see, there was one makeup trend. A lot of people wearing their hair, a lot of women wearing their hair long, and this sort of deliberate, really high blush, very very high pink cheekbone. Here you could see it on the Star of the Bear. You could see it on Gigi Hadid, on Lana Del Rey. There were just many women, Kerry Washington, who had very high blush. So I think that's it too. And look, it was great to see people. Look, there were more trains on gowns than there are pinstripes at Yankee Stadium. I mean, it's just one after the other after the other. Of course, Cardi B had to outdo everybody with a train that was 360 degrees, because she just has to call so much attention to herself. She also did. I have to say, she probably won the contest for the most vulgar jewelry of anybody. Her jewelry was kind of gross. The most striking man, oddly enough, on the red carpet is somebody nobody knows. I don't even know if I tell you a name, you might even know him. His name is Gunnar Magnar Witzøe. I thought he was a model. I wasn't sure who he was, okay, because he came on wearing this salmon pink Versace bodysuit covered by a half toga and a cape. Well, turns out that Mr. Witzøe is actually a Norwegian multi-billionaire who's 31 years old and made his money in salmon fish farming. And I don't know where the heck this guy came from, but he had the most outrageous look of any guy of the night.
Let's talk about the men here a bit, because if you remember last year in the Karl Lagerfeld tribute, we remember Jared Leto dressed up as Karl Lagerfeld's cat show pet.
Yes.
There have been many dramatic looks from men over the years, like Bad Bunny, Frank Ocean, and Lil Nas X. They continue to push the envelope. Who do you think pushed the envelope this year? Who do you think was best dressed when it came to men?
I mean, look, you can go one or two ways. I think Coleman Domingo, probably, and Willie Echeverria, probably had really he had the classiest look. He had the classiest look with this sort of great sort of white cape, well, it was a black suit with a white cape jacket over it, and it just the draping and the silhouette and the shape of it was absolutely glorious. I thought he really looked wonderful. Look, Chris Hemsworth just wore a beige Tom Ford tuxedo, but he's so ridiculously handsome it doesn't matter. You just can't take your eyes off the man. He's just sort of great looking. A lot of the guys, kept it fairly simple. Jonathan Bailey had a great Loewe jacket with this huge floral rose in the center. I thought he looked pretty terrific. I thought Eddie Redmayne just looked confused. I don't think he really knew what he was doing. But the guys, I mean, there's just so much you can do here. I mean, it's Sebastian Stan had a black coat that had sort of floral embroidery and a couple of floral brooches, but the men don't have. Those who, yes, the ones like Jordan Roth and the producer and stuff, who basically come in drag. That's different. But if you're gonna dress with a certain level of masculinity, it's not really your night. Though it's gotten, like I said, the men have gotten more and more adventurous on all red carpets, and I think, believe it or not, I think that has a lot to do with RuPaul's Drag Race.
This event isn't just fashion, it transcends into art. You mentioned that J-Lo's dress you said took 800 hours to make.
100
What
hours.
is the preparation that goes into a Met Gala look, and how much work goes into that?
I mean, like I said, 800 hours, 1,500 hours, 25 people, 35 people putting these dresses together. These dresses start out, with the help of Vogue and Anna and the staff who connect, who very often, if the stylists don't have the connection, who make the connections between star and designer. But they're working on these dresses for 2 to 3 months. Gabrielle Union was talking about how her dress basically that she started sometime in February, deciding on how to put these gowns together because they are so elaborate, because they are so much work. And somebody says, well, why go through all of this? Because no one's really paying for these gowns. And the reason is for the same reason why one of the hosts of the evening was the CEO of TikTok, because these gowns go on TikTok and they now do analytics. They do analytics by how much sort of free advertising you get. That this dress scores $38 million worth of advertising for Dior on TikTok. The government may be screaming and yelling about wanting to ban it. It's like the horse. Basically the train's left the station. You can't deny the impact of TikTok in its influence on fashion, on retail, on commerce, because this is what people are looking at. If you go on TikTok now, it is drowning in images from the Met, and that's where it makes it. That's where you make your money. That's where you get noticed. There's a reason why Michael Kors did 5 or 6 dresses, because he knows how much traffic that's going to generate on TikTok
So
and on
would you
social media.
say would you say that the Met red carpet is a walking advertisement almost since social media?
Not almost, it is. I mean, that's the reason for its existence. I mean, perfect example. You look at LVMH as they in the process of buying up basically everything except for Macy's. LVMH bought Tiffany's last year. Okay, a year or 2 years ago, gutted the whole store, which didn't need a renovation, completely redid the store, and you used to see maybe when I used to cover the red carpet for Extra and for Good Morning America, you saw maybe uh, one or two stars wearing Tiffany. Most people were Lorraine Schwartz, but Lorraine Schwartz never wrote a check for a star to wear jewelry. It was all based on friendship. This season, this whole award season, Tiffany's huge necklaces, including the huge necklace being worn by Jennifer Lopez, among others, have been on one star after the next, after the next, after the next, and every single one of those stars has gotten paid somewhere in the 6 figures to wear that necklace. Which may sound vulgar, except if somebody offered you $400,000 to wear a necklace, would you say no? So whether it goes with your dress or not, you are not saying no. So yeah, this is exactly what it is. This is all about advertising. This is better. Remember, we don't have magazines anymore to put ads in. So you look front of the book and you look at all those glorious designer ads. No. So where's the currency? Where's the currency? The currency is on social media.
I want to talk about some partnerships that maybe were unexpected and maybe some that made sense to you, some that stood out for you. Were there any unexpected or expected collaborations between designer and star?
I don't know if there was unexpected. I mean, I think I'll go back to Mindy Kaling again, because she is of Indian origin. She wanted to do something to honor her lineage and her family. So she went to this Indian designer, Guru Gupta, who most of us do not know, and he came up with this extraordinary creation, which I thought was magnificent to look at. The same thing with Zendaya. John Galliano was not an obvious choice, but she has a very smart stylist, and he takes incredible risks. Law Roach is daring. He's daring. He's big. He's flamboyant. He's an ego. He has he does lots and lots of television as well. He's made himself into a personality and to a social media star. But that said, he comes through for her, And those looks are unique. I think the collaboration with Tom Brown and Gigi Hadid, and Tom Brown and Cynthia Revo, were kind of extraordinary because of the elaborateness of the creations, because they really were about not making a gown, but actually making a statement. Like it's does it really follow the theme? No, but it gets attention, and that's really what everyone's looking to do, is to get attention.
When you look back at all of these looks at large, do you think the Garden of Time is going to have that lasting impact on culture that other themes like camp and heavenly bodies has?
I don't know. I think, look, going back to the Miranda Priestley statement, you don't have to convince people to wear flowers in the springtime. So, I mean, it's just a natural thing to do. Also, I think fashion has already, in its last 2 years, fashion gone has moved away again from simple pragmatism that I think we were a position we were at right after the pandemic, because we didn't know if people were ever going to dress up again. We didn't know, they were just going to live in their sweats, and let's make sweats out of cashmere, and we'll be done with it. Well, no, people do want to dress up. They have weddings and bar mitzvahs and special events, and they want to feel good, and they want to look good. Look, clothes are a rush. I mean, that's the whole idea. That to be able to look in the mirror and see the best version of you is that's exciting. And I think it's already there. And I think because the clothes here on this particular evening were not necessarily very unexpected, they were elaborate versions. But I think there were very few people whose looks shocked you. Yes, no one's going to get a gown made out of sand like Tyler has on, but to buy a dress that's out of florals, it's already a given. So I don't know if this has that kind of resonance. I think what's going to be more interesting to see how many people turn out for a show like this, because it is a very sort of esoteric or also kind of cerebral. It's a cerebral theme this year, and it's talking about clothes that actually can't be worn. So we'll see whether this exhibition has the kind of power that, let's say, the Alexander McQueen show did, which was extraordinary and kind of groundbreaking.
Hal Rubenstien, thank you so much for your expertise. I really appreciated the conversation.
You bet. Always fun to be here.